I thought finding a roommate through Craigslist was risky enough. Turns out, I had no idea what risky really meant until Zara moved in. It started 3 months ago when I posted an ad for my spare bedroom. Living in downtown Chicago was expensive, and my barista salary wasn't cutting it. I needed someone to split the rent, and fast. The first few people who responded were either creepy, messy, or wanted to pay in cryptocurrency. Then Zara replied. Her email was perfect. She was clean, quiet, had references, and could pay 3 months up front. The only weird thing was that she insisted on meeting at night and said she had special dietary needs. I figured she was probably vegan or something. Boy, was I wrong. When Zara showed up at my apartment, I almost didn't let her in. She was tall, really tall, maybe 6'3", with pale skin that seemed to glow in the hallway light. Her hair was silver white and perfectly straight, falling to her shoulders. But her eyes were the strangest part. They were violet like actual purple, and they seemed to shimmer when she looked at me. "You must be Jake," she said, extending her hand. Her voice had this slight accent I couldn't place. "I'm Zara." I reached out to shake her hand, but she quickly pulled back. "Sorry, I have a skin condition. Very sensitive. I prefer not to touch." That should have been my first clue, but I needed the money. Plus, she seemed nice enough, even if she was a little odd. Zara moved in the next week, and at first everything was great. She kept to herself, never made noise, and always paid her share of the bills on time. She worked nights, she said, doing research for a pharmaceutical company. I never saw her eat, but she kept the weirdest stuff in the fridge, bottles of clear liquid that looked like water but smelled metallic, and these purple fruits I'd never seen before. The first strange incident happened about a month after she moved in. I woke up in the middle of the night to get some water and found her standing in the living room, completely still, staring out the window. She was wearing pajamas, but her skin seemed to be glowing softly in the dark. "Zara?" I whispered. "You okay?" She turned to me, and for a second her eyes flashed brighter. "Oh, Jake. Yes, I'm fine. Just couldn't sleep. Sometimes I like to watch the stars." I looked out the window. The city lights made it impossible to see any stars, but I didn't want to argue. "Okay, well, good night." "Good night, Jake." Things got weirder from there. I started noticing that she never touched anything directly. She always wore gloves, even inside the apartment. When she opened doors, she used her elbow or a towel. At first, I thought it was just her skin condition, but then I noticed other things, like how every plant in our apartment started dying. We had a few potted plants by the windows, nothing fancy, just some basic houseplants that were practically impossible to kill. Within 2 weeks of Zara moving in, they all started turning black and shriveling up. When I asked her about it, she just shrugged and said maybe the apartment didn't get enough sunlight. Then there was the incident with Mrs. Henderson's cat. Mrs. Henderson was our elderly neighbor who lived next door. She had this fat orange cat named Pickles who liked to escape and wander the hallways. One evening, I came home from work to find Pickles sitting outside our door, meowing loudly. "Hey there, buddy," I said, reaching down to pet him. "Let me get you back to Mrs. Henderson." Just then, our door opened and Zara stepped out. She wasn't wearing gloves, which was unusual. Pickles immediately ran toward her, probably hoping for some attention. "No!" Zara shouted, but it was too late. Pickles brushed against her bare leg. The effect was immediate and horrible. Pickles let out a terrible yowl and collapsed, his orange fur turning black where he'd touched Zara's skin. Within seconds, he wasn't moving. I stared in shock. What the hell just happened? Zara looked terrified. She quickly pulled on the gloves she was carrying and knelt down next to Pickles, but didn't touch him. "I'm so sorry, Jake. This is why I don't touch things. I tried to warn him. You killed Mrs. Henderson's cat." I couldn't believe what I was seeing. "How did you kill her cat by touching it?" "It's my condition," she said quietly. "It's why I have to be so careful." I backed away from her. What kind of condition kills cats by touching them? She looked up at me with those strange violet eyes, and I could see she was crying. The kind that makes me not exactly human. That's when she told me the truth. Zara wasn't from Chicago. She wasn't even from Earth. She was from a planet called Kepler 442b, about 1,200 light-years away. Her people were called the Vexhi, and they were dying. Our planet is losing its atmosphere, she explained as we sat in the living room. Pickle's small body wrapped in a towel between us. We've been sending scouts to other worlds, looking for a new home. I volunteered to come to Earth to study your species and see if we could coexist. And the deadly touch thing? My people evolved differently than humans. Our skin produces a toxin that kills organic matter on contact. It's how we survived on our world. Nothing could prey on us. But here, it makes me dangerous to everything alive. I stared at her. You're telling me you're an alien? Yes. From outer space? Yes. And you kill things by touching them? Yes. I stood up and started pacing. This is insane. This is completely insane. I'm living with an alien who kills things by touching them. Jake, please listen. Listen? Listen to what? You've been lying to me for months. You killed Mrs. Henderson's cat. What if you had touched me? Zara flinched like I'd slapped her. I would never hurt you. That's why I'm always so careful. That's why I wear gloves. Why I don't shake hands. Why I keep my distance. But what if you forgot? What if you had an accident? I don't forget, she said firmly. I've been living with this my entire life. I know how to be careful. I sat back down, my head spinning. Why are you telling me this now? Because you deserve to know the truth. And because... She hesitated. Because my people are coming. Coming? Coming here. In about 6 months, the first colony ship will arrive. 3,000 Vexhi, looking for a new home. I was supposed to prepare the way, to make sure it was safe. And is it? Safe. She looked around our small apartment, at the dead plants, at the towel-wrapped cat. I don't know anymore. The next few days were the weirdest of my life, and that's saying something. I couldn't stop thinking about what Zara had told me. Part of me wanted to run away, to move out and never see her again. But another part of me felt sorry for her. I watched how carefully she moved through the world, always wearing gloves, always keeping distance from everyone and everything. She couldn't pet animals, couldn't hug friends, couldn't even high-five someone without risking their life. It had to be incredibly lonely. I also couldn't stop thinking about the colony ships. 3,000 aliens with deadly touch, coming to Earth. What would happen when they arrived? Would they try to take over? Would there be a war? What's your people's plan exactly? I asked her one night as we sat on opposite ends of the couch watching Netflix. She always sat as far away from me as possible. Originally, we hoped to find uninhabited areas where we could settle without bothering humans. Deserts, maybe, or remote islands. We don't need much. Just somewhere safe from the radiation that's killing our homeworld. But now I'm not sure it will work. We can't touch anything here without killing it. How can we live on a world where our very presence is deadly? I thought about this. What about protective suits? Like hazmat suits or something? We've considered that. But suits tear, seals break. Eventually, there would be accidents. And we can't live our entire lives in protective gear. So what are you going to recommend when you report back? She was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. That weekend, I did something stupid. I invited my best friend Marcus over for dinner without telling Zara. I figured it was time to test how she handled being around other people. Marcus showed up Saturday evening with a 6-pack of beer and a big smile. Dude, I'm excited to finally meet your mysterious roommate. You've been so secretive about her. She's unique, I said, letting him in. Zara emerged from her room wearing her usual gloves and a long-sleeved shirt, despite it being warm. She kept her distance but was polite. shaking Marcus's hand through her gloves. Nice to meet you, Marcus. Jake talks about you all the time. Same here, though he hasn't told me much about you. What do you do for work? Research, she said vaguely. For a pharmaceutical company. We ordered pizza and sat around the living room, chatting. Zara was actually pretty funny when she relaxed, telling stories about growing up in a small town that I now realized were probably about her home planet. Marcus seemed to like her, though I caught him giving me questioning looks about her gloves and her habit of sitting far away from everyone. Everything was going fine until Marcus spilled beer on himself. Oh, crap, he said, jumping up as the cold liquid soaked through his shirt. Sorry, guys. Jake, can I borrow a towel? Sure. There are clean ones in the bathroom closet. As Marcus headed down the hall, dripping beer, Zara suddenly stood up. I should go to my room. Why? It's just a little spilled beer. But she was already backing toward her bedroom. I should go. That's when Marcus came back, having taken off his wet shirt and grabbed a towel. He was drying his chest when he tripped over the coffee table. Everything happened in slow motion. Marcus stumbled forward, his arms windmilling as he tried to catch his balance. Zara was trying to get out of the way, but she wasn't fast enough. Marcus crashed into her, and his bare shoulder made contact with her neck, right above her shirt collar. The effect was immediate. Marcus screamed and jumped back, clutching his shoulder. Where his skin had touched Zara's, there was already a black mark spreading outward like spilled ink. What the hell? Marcus shouted, staring at the growing black patch on his shoulder. What did you do to me? Zara looked horrified. I'm so sorry. Jake, we need to get him to a hospital now. I grabbed my keys while Zara ran to her room. She came back with a small vial of clear liquid. Make him drink this, she said, handing me the vial. All of it. What is it? Just trust me. Marcus was starting to panic as the black mark spread down his arm. Jake, what's happening to me? What is this? I uncapped the vial. It smelled like metal and ozone. Drink this, Marcus. Right now. I'm not drinking some weird dash. Drink it. I practically forced the liquid down his throat. For a terrifying moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the black mark stopped spreading. Even more amazingly, it started to fade. Marcus stared at his shoulder in disbelief. What just happened? Zara sat down heavily on the couch, pulling her gloves higher up her arms. I poisoned you with my skin, and then I gave you the antidote. You what now? So I had to explain the whole thing to Marcus. About Zara being an alien, about her deadly touch, about the colony ships coming to Earth. He took it surprisingly well, considering. So you're telling me, he said after I finished, that my roommate's roommate is an alien with toxic skin who's scouting Earth for an invasion? It's not an invasion, Zara said quietly. We're refugees. Refugees with deadly touch. Yes. Marcus rubbed his shoulder where the mark had been. And you have an antidote? A temporary one. It only works if administered quickly after contact. And I only have a few doses left. How did you get an antidote for your own poison? Zara looked uncomfortable. We developed it in case of accidents. But it's difficult to make and requires materials from our homeworld. Marcus and I exchanged glances. Zara, I said carefully, if your people come to Earth and there are accidents, and there will be accidents, what happens to the humans who get poisoned? I don't know. The colony ships don't carry much antidote. It's too difficult to synthesize without the right equipment. So people will die. Some people might die. Marcus stood up. Some people? Zara, if 3,000 of your people show up on Earth, and they all have deadly skin, there's going to be a lot more than some deaths. There's going to be a disaster. Zara looked like she was about to cry. I know. That's why I don't know what to report back to my people. When do you have to report? I asked. Soon. The colony ships are already en route. They need to know where to land, what to expect. I had an idea. It was crazy, but it might work. What if there was a way for your people to touch things safely? What do you mean? I mean, what if we could figure out a way to neutralize your poison? Not just an antidote, but something that would make it safe for you to touch things in the first place. Zara shook her head. It's not possible. We've tried for generations. The toxin is part of our biology. But you said the antidote works by neutralizing the poison after contact, right? What if we could neutralize it before contact instead? How? I grinned. Marcus, didn't you say your girlfriend works for that biotech company? The one that's always in the news for developing new medicines. Marcus nodded slowly. Dr. Sarah Chen. She's a biochemist at Gentech Labs. Think she'd be interested in studying alien biochemistry? Are you insane? Marcus said. You want to tell more people about this? We need help, I said. Zara can't solve this alone. Her people can't solve it, or they would have already. But maybe human scientists can approach the problem differently. Zara looked uncertain. It would mean revealing our existence to your people. To one person first. Someone who might be able to help. And if she can't help? If she turns us over to your government? I thought about this. Then we'll deal with that when it happens. But right now, you have to make a choice. Either you report back that Earth isn't suitable and your people find somewhere else to go, or you take a chance on finding a solution. Zara was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, set up the meeting. Dr. Sarah Chun was a small, energetic woman in her 30s with short black hair and the kind of intense focus that came from years of looking at the world through microscopes. When Marcus told her he had a friend with a unique biochemical condition, she agreed to meet us at her lab on a Sunday evening when it would be empty. She was not prepared for what we told her. You're joking, she said after we finished explaining. This is some kind of elaborate prank. Show her, I said to Zara. Zara looked nervous, but she pulled off one glove. Dr. Chun had brought a small potted plant for testing. Zara gently touched one leaf with her bare finger. The plant died instantly, the green leaf turning black and crumbling to ash. Dr. Chun stared at the plant, then at Zara, then back at the plant. Holy shit. So you believe us? Marcus asked. I believe that this woman has some kind of incredibly potent biotoxin in her skin. The alien part is still a little hard to swallow. Zara sighed and pulled off her other glove. Then she placed both hands flat on the lab table. Where her palms touched, the black stain spread outward in perfect handprint shapes, eating through the plastic surface like acid. Okay, Dr. Chun said faintly. I believe you. Over the next few weeks, Dr. Chun ran every test she could think of. She took samples of Zara's skin cells, her saliva, her hair. She analyzed the antidote Zara had given Marcus. She tested the toxin on different materials, different organisms, under different conditions. What she found was both fascinating and terrifying. The toxin is unlike anything I've ever seen, she explained to us one evening in her lab. It's not just one compound. It's a complex cocktail of enzymes that break down organic matter at the cellular level. It's incredibly efficient and incredibly deadly. But can you neutralize it? I asked. That's the question. The antidote Zara has works by introducing competing enzymes that essentially eat the toxin before it can do permanent damage. But it only works after exposure, and only for a short time. What about preventing the toxin from being produced in the first place? Dr. Chun shook her head. The toxin isn't just something Zara's skin produces. It's built into her cellular structure. Removing it would be like removing someone's DNA. She wouldn't be the same person anymore. So what do? We think differently. Instead of trying to change Zara, we change how the toxin interacts with the environment. She pulled up a diagram on her computer. I've been working on a topical treatment, essentially a cream that would neutralize the toxin on contact. If Zara applied it to her skin, she could touch things safely for several hours at a time. Zara leaned forward. You think it would work? I think it's worth trying. But I need more time to refine the formula, and I need more of your antidote to work with. I only have 2 doses left. Then we better make them count. The first test was a disaster. The cream Dr. Chun developed burned Zara's skin like acid, leaving angry red welts wherever she applied it. We had to use one of her precious antidote doses just to stop the reaction. I'm sorry, Dr. Chun said as she treated Zara's burns. I didn't account for how the cream would interact with your skin chemistry. It's okay, Zara said, though she was clearly in pain. We have to keep trying. The second test was better. The cream didn't burn, but it also didn't work. When Zara touched a test plant, it still died instantly. The neutralizing agent isn't strong enough, Dr. Chen muttered, making notes. I need to increase the concentration. We only have 1 antidote dose left, I reminded her. I know. The next test has to work. While Dr. Chun worked on improving the formula, I spent more time with Zara. I was starting to understand what her life was really like. She couldn't touch anything without gloves. She couldn't hug anyone, couldn't even shake hands safely. She had to eat with special utensils and drink from bottles she opened herself. Every interaction with the world had to be carefully planned to avoid accidental contact. It must be incredibly lonely, I said one evening as we sat on opposite ends of the couch. It is, she admitted. On my world, everyone has the same condition, so it wasn't as big a problem. But here, she gestured around the apartment. Everything is so alive here. Your plants, your pets, even the bacteria in your air. I'm surrounded by life, but I can never touch any of it. Is that why you volunteered to come to Earth? To get away from that? Partly, but also because I thought maybe here, with human science, we might find a solution. My people have been looking for centuries. And now, she smiled sadly, now I have hope. Maybe foolish hope, but hope nonetheless. The third test happened on a Tuesday evening. Dr. Chun had been working non-stop for 3 days, refining her formula. The new cream was thicker, with a slight blue tint from the additional neutralizing compounds. This is it, she said as Zara applied the cream to her hands. If this doesn't work, I'll need to start over completely. We all held our breath as Zara approached the test plant. A healthy fern Dr. Chun had brought from home. Slowly, carefully, Zara reached out her bare hand and touched a leaf. Nothing happened. She touched another leaf, then another. The plant stayed green and healthy. It's working, Dr. Chun whispered. Zara looked at her hands in amazement, then at us. It's actually working. That's when she did something that surprised all of us. She walked over to me and held out her hand. I stared at it. Are you sure? I'm sure. I reached out and took her hand in mine. Her skin was warm and soft, completely normal. No burning, no blackness, no death. She started crying. I haven't touched another person in 12 years, she said through her tears. Not since I went through maturation and my toxin became fully active. Dr. Chun was grinning like she'd just won the Nobel Prize. The treatment lasts about 6 hours before it needs to be reapplied. With the right equipment, I could probably extend that to 12 hours, maybe more. How much could you make? I asked. If I had the proper resources, enough for thousands of people. Zara was still holding my hand, marveling at the simple human contact. You've given me my life back. We've given your people a chance, I corrected. Now you need to decide what to do with it. Zara made her report to the colony ships the next day. She told them about Earth, about humans, about the challenges they would face. But she also told them about the solution Dr. Chun had developed. The response came back within hours. The colony ships were changing course. Instead of landing in remote areas, they would come to Chicago. They wanted to meet with Dr. Chun and learn about the treatment that could let them live safely alongside humans. They'll be here in 3 months, Zara told us. 3,000 Vex high, looking for a new home. Are you ready for that? Marcus asked. Zara looked at her hands, still cream-covered but able to touch the world around her. I think so. For the first time in my life, I think we actually have a chance. Dr. Chun was already making plans. I'll need to scale up production, train other scientists, work with the government to make sure this goes smoothly. Think they'll let us help? I asked. Help? Jake, you're going to be the first human ambassador to an alien species. Of course they'll let you help. As I watched Zara carefully water our houseplants, plants that stayed green under her touch for the first time ever, I couldn't help but smile. 3 months ago, I'd just been looking for a roommate to help with rent. Now I was preparing to help integrate 3,000 aliens into human society. It wasn't going to be easy. There would be challenges, misunderstandings, probably some panic when the news got out. But looking at Zara as she gently touched a leaf and watched it stay healthy and green, I thought we had a pretty good chance. After all, if my deadly touch alien roommate could learn to live safely among humans, maybe her people could too. The future was going to be very interesting. The first colony ship appeared in Earth's sky on a Tuesday morning. It looked like a massive silver teardrop, about the size of a football stadium, hovering silently above Lake Michigan. Within minutes, every news channel in the world was broadcasting live footage of humanity's first confirmed contact with alien life. I was in Dr. Chen's lab when it happened, helping her prepare the final batches of neutralizing cream for the arriving Vexhi. The laboratory had been expanded into an entire floor of the Gentech building, with government funding and a team of 20 scientists working around the clock. Jake, come look at this, Zara called from the window. She was pointing up at the sky, her face filled with emotions I couldn't read. That's the Kethvar, my cousin's ship. The ship hung in the air like it was defying gravity itself, which it probably was. After 3 months of working with Dr. Chun, I'd learned that Vexhi technology was centuries ahead of ours in some areas. They had to travel across 1,200 light-years of space. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Dude, are you seeing this? There's an alien spaceship over the lake and my boss wants me to go interview people about it. This is insane. Dr. Chun was frantically checking her equipment. Are we ready for this? Do we have enough cream? What if the formula doesn't work on the others? It'll work, Zara said confidently. We tested it on samples from 3 different Vexhi. The biochemistry is consistent across our species. But what if Sarah, I interrupted, using her first name like I'd started doing after we became friends. You've run more tests than anyone thought possible. The cream works. You've saved an entire species. She took a deep breath. Right? Okay, let's go make history. The meeting was set for Neutral Ground McCormick Place, Chicago's massive convention center. The government had cleared the building and set up a sterile meeting room with air filtration systems, just in case. President Martinez was flying in from Washington along with scientists from NASA, the CDC, and about a dozen other agencies I'd never heard of. I'd been appointed as the official human liaison, mostly because I was the first human to successfully live with a Vexhi. Marcus had been chosen as the media representative, which meant he got to ask the questions everyone wanted answered. Dr. Chun was there as the lead scientist, clutching a briefcase full of neutralizing cream like it contained the secrets of the universe. Which, in a way, it did. The Vexhi delegation consisted of 5 individuals, including Zara. They all looked similar, tall, pale, with that same silver-white hair and violet eyes. But there were subtle differences. The leader, who introduced himself as Commander Veltar, had intricate tattoos covering his arms that seemed to shift and move in the light. Another, a female named Dr. Kiraden, had shorter hair and carried what looked like an advanced medical scanner. They all wore the neutralizing cream Dr. Chun had developed, applied like a thin layer of makeup over their exposed skin. It was surreal watching them shake hands with human officials, a simple gesture that would have been deadly just months before. On behalf of the Vexhi people, Commander Veltar said in accented but clear English, I thank you for this opportunity. We come not as conquerors, but as refugees seeking a new home. President Martinez, to his credit, handled the situation with dignity. On behalf of Earth and humanity, we welcome you. Though I have to admit, this is a first for all of us. That got a few nervous chuckles from both sides. The formal presentations went smoothly. Commander Veltar explained their situation. Their homeworld was dying, their star was becoming unstable, and they had perhaps 50 years before their planet became uninhabitable. They had 3 colony ships, carrying about 10,000 Vexi total, looking for new worlds to settle. We chose Earth because your biosphere is compatible with our needs, Dr. Kirden explained. We can breathe your air, drink your water, and survive in your climate. The only problem was the deadly touch thing, President Martinez said bluntly. Yes, but thanks to Dr. Chen's breakthrough, that is no longer an insurmountable obstacle. Dr. Chen stood up to present her findings. She'd prepared a full scientific briefing, complete with charts and molecular diagrams, but she kept it simple for the politicians and media. The neutralizing treatment works by creating a barrier between Vexi skin and organic matter, she explained. It's completely safe for both species and lasts approximately 8 hours per application. With proper manufacturing facilities, we can produce enough to supply the entire Vexi population. What about long-term effects? Asked Dr. Peterson from the CDC. Are there any health risks to prolonged use? Dr. Kiriden answered. We've been testing the treatment on volunteers for 2 months. No adverse effects have been observed. In fact, many of our people report feeling liberated. I understood what she meant. Watching Zara over the past few months had been like watching someone discover a whole new world. She touched grass for the first time, petted a dog, even gone swimming in Lake Michigan. Simple things that humans took for granted were miraculous experiences for her. What about integration? Asked someone from the State Department. Where would your people live? How would they support themselves? Commander Veltar smiled. We don't expect charity. The Vexi have advanced knowledge in several fields: medicine, energy production, environmental science. We can contribute to your society while building our own communities. Think of it as a cultural exchange program, Zara added. Except instead of college students, it's an entire species. The questions went on for hours. Resources, housing, legal status, cultural differences. There were a million details to work out, but the basic framework was clear. The Vexi would be granted refugee status, with designated settlement areas in sparsely populated regions. They would work with human authorities to integrate gradually into Earth society. It wasn't going to be easy. There would be fear, prejudice, and probably some violence from humans who couldn't accept the idea of alien neighbors. But it was better than the alternative. After the formal meetings, I found myself alone with Zara in one of the convention center's quieter corridors. The weight of what we'd accomplished was starting to sink in. So, I said, how does it feel to be the alien who saved 2 species? She laughed. I didn't save anyone. You did. You and Sarah and Marcus. You took a chance on helping someone who could have killed you. You took a bigger chance trusting us. We stood there for a moment, watching through the windows as the Vexi ship slowly descended toward a landing area that had been hastily constructed in Grant Park. Soon, thousands of her people would be walking on Earth for the first time. What happens now? I asked. Now the real work begins. Integration, coexistence, learning to live together. It's going to take time. What about you? Are you going back to the ship? Zara shook her head. I'm staying in Chicago. Someone needs to help with the transition, and besides. She grinned. I still owe you 3 months of rent. I laughed. Actually, I think we're even. You've brought in enough government contracts to pay for the apartment 10 times over. True, but I like it there. It's the first place I ever felt at home. As we watched more Vexi ships appearing in the sky, the other 2 colony vessels arriving on schedule, I thought about how much my life had changed. 6 months ago, I was a barista worried about rent. Now I was humanity's first alien roommate, helping to coordinate the biggest refugee resettlement in history. Jake, Zara said quietly, thank you for everything. Thank you for trusting me with the truth. She smiled and held out her hand. I took it, marveling again at the simple miracle of safe contact between our species. Partners? She asked. Partners, I agreed. As the first Vexhi began descending from their ship to set foot on Earth, I realized that Zara had been right about one thing. The future was going to be very interesting indeed. But I was ready for it. After all, if I could handle living with an alien roommate who used to have a deadly touch, I could handle anything. Even if that anything included helping 10,000 refugees from another world make Earth their home. It was going to be the adventure of a lifetime. 6 months later, the coffee shop was busier than usual for a Tuesday morning. I looked up from the espresso machine to see a familiar mix of customers. Humans grabbing their morning caffeine fix alongside Vexhi stopping by for their preferred metal-tasting energy drinks that Sarah had helped me learn to make. 1 double-shot oat milk latte and 1 crystalline energy blend, I called out, sliding the drinks across the counter to Maria Santos and her Vexhi work partner, Zekai. Thanks, Jake, Maria said, carefully taking both drinks. She worked at the new integration center downtown and had been one of the first humans to volunteer for the cultural exchange program. How's business? Can't complain. Turns out serving coffee to 2 species is twice as profitable. Zekai made a sound that I'd learned was Vexhi laughter. Your humor improves, Jake friend. I grinned. Most of the Vexhi had adopted the habit of adding friend to human names, and most humans had started doing the same. It was one of those small cultural adaptations that made coexistence easier. The bell above the door chimed, and Zara walked in, followed by a tall Vexhi I didn't recognize. She was wearing a business suit and carrying a tablet, her uniform as the new director of Human Vexhi Relations for the city of Chicago. Jake, I'd like you to meet Dr. Nexval, she said, gesturing to her companion. He's the head of the new medical research center we're opening next month. Dr. Nexval extended his hand, and I shook it without hesitation. Even after 6 months, the simple act of touching a Vexhi still felt miraculous. Jake friend, he said in careful English. Zara friend speaks of you often, the human who made first contact possible. I just needed help with rent, I said, which made Zara laugh. Don't be modest, she said, ordering her usual morning drink. Speaking of which, I have news. The president wants to meet with you. I nearly dropped the cup I was holding. The president? Why? Because you're being considered for the new position of interspecies liaison. It's a formal government job, Jake. You'd be working with both species to help solve integration problems. Dr. Nexval nodded approvingly. Your experience living peacefully with Zara friend makes you ideal candidate. I thought about it while I made Zara's drink. 6 months ago, the idea of working for the government would have seemed impossible. But then again, 6 months ago, the idea of alien roommates would have seemed impossible too. What would I be doing exactly? Problem solving, Zara explained. Yesterday, we had a situation where a group of Vexhi children accidentally killed a community garden because they forgot to apply their cream before playing. The human neighbors were upset, the Vexhi parents were embarrassed, and everyone needed someone to help them figure out a solution. What did you do? I called you, remember? You suggested having the Vexhi families help replant the garden with special plants that can actually benefit from their natural toxins. Now that community has the most unique garden in the city. I remembered the phone call. It had seemed like common sense at the time, but apparently, that kind of creative problem solving was exactly what the integration effort needed. I'd have to give up the coffee shop, I said. Actually, no, Dr. Nexval said. This establishment has become an important meeting place for both species. We would prefer you keep it operating. Think of it as your unofficial office, Zara added. Plus, the government salary means you can finally afford to hire help. The bell chimed again, and Marcus walked in with Dr. Chun. They'd been dating for 2 months now, Ever since Sarah had realized that Marcus's easygoing personality was the perfect complement to her intense scientific focus. "Hey, Jake," Marcus said. "We just came from the school board meeting. They approved the new curriculum." "Curriculum?" Sarah bounced excitedly. "We're going to start teaching human and Vex High children together. Biology, chemistry, physics. Imagine what they can learn from each other." "My cousin's daughter is very excited," Zara added. "She wants to learn how humans make music. Apparently, Vex High don't have vocal cords like yours. And the human kids want to learn about space travel," Marcus said. "Turns out, having alien classmates is pretty cool." I looked around the coffee shop at the mixed crowd of humans and Vex High, all chatting and laughing together. A Vex High businessman was showing a human woman something on his tablet. Two human teenagers were practicing Vex High language with an elderly alien who was patiently correcting their pronunciation. A mixed group of kids was playing with toys that looked like they came from 3 different planets. It wasn't perfect. There were still problems, misunderstandings, and the occasional incident. Some humans remained fearful or hostile, and some Vex High struggled with Earth customs. But it was working. "You know what?" I said to Zara. "I'll take the job, but I have one condition." "What's that?" "I want to keep you as my roommate. The apartment's been paid off with all the government consulting fees, and I've gotten used to having you around." Zara smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that. Besides, someone needs to make sure you don't burn dinner when you're working late." Dr. Nexval looked confused. "Burn dinner? Human expression," Zara explained. "Jake Friend is not skilled at food preparation." "Hey, I've gotten better. You made eggs yesterday that were somehow both burned and raw." Everyone laughed, including Dr. Nexval, who was learning that good-natured teasing was a sign of friendship among humans. As the morning rush continued, I watched the easy interaction between species and felt a deep sense of satisfaction. It had started with a simple Craigslist ad and a desperate need for help with rent. Now it had grown into something much bigger, a friendship that had helped bridge the gap between 2 worlds. Sure, there were still challenges ahead. The other Vex High colony ships were still arriving, each bringing thousands more refugees who needed homes, jobs, and help integrating into human society. There would be more problems to solve, more cultural barriers to overcome, and probably more incidents involving accidentally killed plants. But looking at Zara as she laughed with my friends, watching her unconsciously touch the counter without fear, seeing her plan for a future where both our species could thrive together, I knew we'd figure it out. After all, if a barista from Chicago and an alien scout with deadly skin could become best friends and roommates, anything was possible. The future was bright, complicated, and full of possibilities I never could have imagined, and I couldn't wait to see what came next.